Thank you, Dean Dobson. And thank you, Anne and Diana, for all your help of the internet. And if you notice, there's two B's and not one. But unfortunately, Jim Webb passed away at the young age of 58, which really gave our firm a great. And I had the opportunity of working next to him for 12 to 15 years. But myself and Costel Coca took over the firm in 2012. Sorry about that. And we've really trying to keep the legacy, but also expand and be more innovative and look for new things to do within the industry. So we really promote the fact that we're a design firm. So we're not, a lot of times people say kitchen consultants, all you do is design a kitchen in a box. We really want to work closely with our clients and our architectural partners and bring design to the table and to the kitchen and the servery and all of that, because it's very important that we keep the integrity of the building as well as meet the goals of whoever is operating the facility. So we're a design firm. We work in food service design. We are a sub-consultant to an architecture firm 90% of the time. And we really pride ourselves on being collaborative and listening and working together to meet our clients' goals. Okay, so really when you look at food service design and the way we approach a project, there's kind of three buckets. So we're looking at strategy, and we do strategic planning and master planning for the project before it ever gets started. So we want to see if it's feasible to do the project, and we really want to know the vision and the client's goals. We also sometimes will do what's called detailed project planning, which is really looking at numbers and data and putting together what the program is going to be. If it's an existing facility, we will do an equipment assessment. We actually had the opportunity of going on the campus at Cal Poly Pomona, and for the facilities department, we looked at every site and gave them an equipment inventory and assessment and kind of told them what they needed to replace, what was good, and gave them a whole tool that they could use so they could move forward with all the facilities on campus. We also have consultants that help us with menu engineering and working on concepts. So we can do the full gamut in the strategy part, and then design. Traditional design, schematic design is really like the first steps. Then you get to design development, and we're getting more details on what equipment is going in the facility. Construction documents are really what they're gonna do bids on when they get to that part. And then helping with plan check and permitting, going through health department. The architect goes to the building department. We assist in that. And then what we call deliver is we do assist our clients in making sure the bids are correct, that you're getting the right equipment on the project, and working through all the idiosyncrasies that happen between design, a kitchen equipment contractor, and a general contractor. So we do help manage the construction piece. And then also, if needed, we can do what's called commissioning, which is training the food service staff on how to use the equipment. There's a lot of specialty equipment in a kitchen. So sometimes the people just don't know how to operate it. It's getting more and more computerized. So it's helpful if we can go in and teach them how they can upload recipes into their equipment. So on a combi oven or some other type of equipment, they can just push a button when they want to cook a certain recipe. So this is our firm right now. We are women owned. I'm the majority owner, and my partner Costel Coca is really manages the design side. I'm really managing operations, finance. So this is our firm right now. We are women owned. I'm the majority owner, and my partner Costel Coca is really manages the design side. I'm really managing operations, finance, business development, upfront relationships, things like that. The way I got into the industry is a little unconventional. Jim Webb actually just kept begging me to come to work for him. I actually was doing his accounting for him. And so I started doing marketing and business development and while I was doing accounting. And so it's just kind of been organic, but I grew up in the restaurant industry. So it really helps if you're interested in food service design to have some of that background to understand the operation, because we really have to marry the operational goals with the architectural goals and really try to put a whole project together that is easy to use, is really a place where people want to go, especially now. It's huge to have placemaking. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the third place, but it's really like your home away from home. And that's really what Starbucks has created in the industry, where people want to go and hang out and be there together. So this is really our firm right now. It's kind of small and mighty, but as far as food service consultants go, they're generally not huge companies. The biggest one probably has over 60 people, Rika Design, and they're more international. They're based out of Denver, and they do work across the country, as we do too, but we primarily focus on the West Coast, and we will go to other parts of the country if we can bring value. We're not going to just take a project for the sake of taking a project. We want to bring value to the team. Let's see. So this is kind of the beginning of a project where we're really gathering data. So I know in the hospitality program, you guys are learning about data when you're doing different presentations. We do this when we start a project. And sometimes it's a little challenging if it's a new facility, because they don't necessarily know all the information, but we do work on residential dining on a college campus or hospitals, where they know how many people are going to come through the facility, what their day parts look like. And we kind of start from there so we can size the facility. So this is just a little snippet of some of the things we'll start when we're starting a project. And then we want to go into visioning, because we really want to make sure that we are meeting the goals of our client. So a lot of times we're the owner's representative on the food service side. So we're working with the operator, like there's management companies a lot of times that run food service, or there's self-operated who run food service, but we're working with whoever is operating that facility, really asking them what their goals are and how can we make that happen. And then as we get that vision in place, then we're looking at the whole facility, like what does the place look like? What does it feel like? What are the trends that you want? What's the clientele? All of that. So we work through that with the client in a visioning session, and we're going to put together kind of their guiding principles, which I have a slide on that coming down after these trend analysis. So we do look at trends. Some of the things we look at is what other food is near. So what trends are there? If we're trying to increase participation on a college campus or keep high school kids on campus, what food do they want to offer on the facility that they can't just walk to? So we're really looking at what are the trends, what can we do? I mean, for instance, since coffee has gotten so big, a lot of high schools now have a Starbucks on their campus, or a Pete's, or some type of coffee offering on their campus to try to keep them there, so they're not leaving. Same in a corporate dining situation, where the employer wants to keep the people on campus, so they're building a community, and they're really just gathering that whole culture together. So some of the innovation we've been seeing, we saw it a little bit pre-COVID, was some of this contactless food pickup. I will tell you, the food service industry doesn't move super fast on the equipment side, but there were some vendors that were looking at these cubbies to pick up food before COVID. And some of that started from one of the big management companies that does a lot of corporate dining. So one of the manufacturers was working very closely with them, and they developed this cubby that you see, the big one to the left. And some of the cubbies, in this instance, they can be ambient, they can be heated, they can be cool, they can operate from your phone, they can have a keypad on them. They're all custom, so we can make them however the facility likes. And then the other item we've seen a lot of is iPads. Even a lot of airports have iPads where you can order. So you can either order from the iPad or your phone. It's just a lot of contactless, which is really, with COVID now, it's super important. But we did see this start a little bit before COVID. It's just getting a lot more popular now. We're actually just finished a project up at across the street from SoFi Stadium, the NFL facility, where they are actually doing a lot of media there, and they have a huge cubby system in there that we put in, similar to this one that you see on the screen. And these are just some more tech solutions, all different types of things that you see. Obviously, custom food where you're going down a line like a Chipotle and everything's made to order, because that's what the customer demands. So that's looking at trends and also just keeping the customer on site there. So this is where we're developing guiding principles. So we take the visioning, we kind of get like, what, if you see on the side where it's like, what's the sensory, what's the gathering, what's the explore. This is for a project we were working on actually in downtown Disney that we did all this concepting for. And we spent a day going through all of this with the client and just looking at what do they want to offer, you know, how do we get indoor, outdoor. So you kind of develop some of these guiding principle buckets, and then you can start working on the design through there. And we just call them our design pillars. And then we went into food concept ideation, developed food, developed recipes with the chefs. Oh, this says my screen sharing is paused. Can you guys see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay, sorry. So this is all part of developing the story. And then we got to where we're developing a menu. So it's really fun to start doing some of this stuff from the start. Don't always get this opportunity. This is just giving you an example of a lot of the opportunities that we get when we're working with different clients. So once we get through all of that, what's the data, how many customers do you have, what's your peak period, and all of that, we get to where we're developing what's the program. So we have to have so much storage per health department. We have to have so much refrigeration. We know what platforms, we call them, so what serving areas we're going to have. So then we develop square footages to all of that. And then we develop an adjacency diagram and a floor plan. So we have to be very careful about how the food is flowing, because you also have trash to deal with. So a lot of times the architects forget that we have trash. We have to have enough room for a truck to back up for deliveries. You want to have your food storage near where it's being delivered so you can keep the temperature correct. So there's a lot of back and forth about how this whole facility is going to be laid out. And then we have seating and, you know, all of that. So we're really working through how everything goes together. This adjacency floor plan that you see, we did have outdoor dining in this example. So you want to be able to flow to the main dining and then possibly have some food near there. So it's kind of fun. It depends on the shape of the building and all different things like that. But this is kind of how we start. So we haven't even gotten into design yet, but this is our preliminary. And then we can also get into concept design sometimes and do renderings, colored floor plans, really just figure out how it's going to feel, because the client doesn't know by looking, say, at this floor plan on the bottom, what does that mean? So we try to do either 3D renderings or something that's going to get them the idea of what this is really going to feel like. And this is just another example of kind of where we go with that. In this instance, we actually got all the way down to like, what do the uniforms look like? A lot of times that doesn't happen, but it's kind of fun to be able to do that. So now I just have examples of different projects that are completed. So we work in K through 12, higher education, business, hospitals, senior living. So I just put together a few project examples for you so you could kind of see what we're doing. So this is a high school that was just finished, and they really increased their participation when they opened this facility. We have a fly through of this too. I just didn't even think about putting a video together for you guys, but you can see like this is a rather large project. So the whole project is 46,000 square feet and the food service is 9,600 square feet. So the food service cost was 1.6 million. So this is just gives you a good idea of, I know you all have been to high school, so you know what it looks like, but this is just all different ways that we're serving food. You can see down on the right, they have baskets that they serve out to the snack bar. So that's a snack bar window. And then the servery is in the middle. This is actually a boarding school up in Ojai, California. This is run by Bon Appetit, which Carrie Wieland worked for Bon Appetit, and we've done a lot of great projects with them. And this is just a beautiful project that was just finished. And they have about 10,000 square feet of food service. And this is a little different because they have young kids to high school, so they actually sit like in little families, they call them. So they do a lot of family style dining. So they do have a servery as well, as you can see, but they do have a night where they all sit together. And so we had a lot of parameters we had to work in on this, which it was really fun because we always learn something, but we got to work on this with Carrie's team, and it was really a beautiful project. It's a beautiful campus. And this is Cal Poly Pomona. So we actually finished the new dining hall. So it was really exciting. That project, we actually went on our first meeting for that project. Jim Webb was actually still alive. So I want to say in 2011 was our first meeting for this project. And as you probably all know, it just opened last year. So this is a long trek into making it work. And some of our projects are like that. They just take years. So it's really exciting to see them come to fruition and get completed. So hopefully some of you have eaten in there, but I know you haven't really been on campus that much, so maybe not. So, and also just for your frame of reference, so we do big dining halls like this, but we also did worked on finished up the display demonstration kitchen up in the hospitality school. So I know a lot of you guys have probably been in there. And so that just gives you a different scale. It's just really just a cook line that the professors can use for a demonstration kitchen. So here's just more pictures of that. So it's kind of fun to be able to create little micro areas where you can sit and eat. And a lot of the colleges want everyone to be able to have somewhere to study and hang out. So that's probably, been the trend for about the last 10 years that's really started, versus just turning people in and out of the food service. They want everyone to be there, have a place, and hang out and feel like they belong, and they can call kind of the third place is kind of like your home away from home. And then these are just more renderings of the concepts we did for that Downtown Disney project. This was on another floor in the same building. So this is more of a high-end type of a restaurant. Still just a concept. It's not in fruition at this point. So sometimes these take a while, but we started working with this client, I think in 2012 or 13. So it's been a while. And then we've also done 5 projects for Google. So this is still in design. It's almost finished. They went on pause during COVID. So they were really trying to figure out if food service was going to be different after COVID. But this is 3 different buildings that we're working on with them. And it's been a great project. The Google team works a little bit differently than other teams, but it's always a great experience where I always learn something new. Through Google, we really learned how to pivot, which is the bad word, but how we could really design online and present and work through everything on COVID since nobody was meeting in person. And Google was a little bit ahead of the power curve on that. And so we were fortunate enough to start Google projects before COVID. And it really helped us be able to just get everybody out of the office, working from home within a day after everything shut down. So it's been a great experience working with them. We also did a corporate project at the Auto Club down in Costa Mesa. They have a huge call center down there, and their dining hall was very dated. So we had the opportunity of updating that and working with them. And they have a lot of employees in not a very big building, but it was really an experience to work with that, because that was really a lot of throughput and figuring out how they also wanted different areas. Like you can see this juice bar, coffee bar, and then, you know, dining areas. And they also have the little cubby cubes that they can go and pick up food from their office if they want. So you can see that on the plan. Also a fun project, Lululemon, their corporate headquarters up in Vancouver. This project is now on hold as well, but we almost finished the design and then COVID happened. So, but Lululemon, they really are about the community. And so they were gonna move 3 different buildings in Vancouver to part of the neighborhood that needed some development. So they had really wanted to take this part of the community and make it better and have their corporate headquarters there. And working with Morphosis Architects, which they do some really cool and kind of crazy stuff. But you can see the building there on the top left. And so it's fun. And this was supposed to be a well project. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but LEED was huge for years, and now well is the new LEED. And well is really about wellness of the people, wellness of the building, wellness of everything. And it's very challenging in food service to be even LEED, because a kitchen uses more energy than anything in the building. So we really have to look at water and power. And in California, actually, we're going to have to be all electric in the next year or 2 here. So now getting chefs to think about cooking on electric and induction versus having the feeder of the flame is a challenge. But all the government buildings are going to have to be electric pretty soon. So a whole new thing that we're learning about right now. And then this is actually a hospital example. So we actually are Sharp Chula Vista. We finished a few years ago. We're working on Sharp Metro right now, and like 3 other Sharp hospitals. So hospitals, a little bit different clientele, because you have a room service line. So that's where they're delivering food to the rooms. And hospital food deliveries really changed in the last 10 years, whereas they used to just bring food to everyone on the floor at the same time. Now you call and order, and there's a call center. And so they're cooking all the time in a hospital kitchen. So that is definitely a change. So we have what they call a dietary kitchen, and then we have the cafe for the doctors and the guests and, you know, anybody else. Some hospitals actually want to serve to the community. I know that isn't happening right now during COVID, but hopefully that will come back. But not every hospital has a doctor's lounge. Sometimes they just have special doctor's lounges where they feed the doctors, but a lot of them, they have to go to the main cafe to get food. And this is the whole facility right here. And the exciting stainless steel, that's what we get to look at. So I haven't shown you too much stainless steel. You've seen a lot of counters. And that's really all I have to show you. Hopefully you guys have some questions. I probably went through that pretty quick. I don't know. So anything, I see there's a bunch of things in the chat, but.
So for questions, we can either put questions in the chat or you can raise your hand. We have 51 people, so it might get a little chaotic. So I would love to see hands. And I
So
can go in order of hands raised for questions. Michelle.
There you go. And the question, more of a comment, and from my perspective, so just let you know, I worked with Webb when Jim Webb was the leader, when I was at San Jose State, and they did several projects for us there. And I'm working with Gina now on some projects. And so understand that as technology and as change happens, food service designers are normally ahead of that, and they can help you bring that along. So if you're a client of a food service designer, what occurs is they are really a great resource, right, to bring you along on the trends because they're actively moving through them the whole time. If you are interested in design or in that piece of it, what I have seen, and this is both, I've seen great operators with great experience become great design people because they understand how it needs to function from an operational. And several of the people that Gina uses on her team in routine places have come out of operations. So if that's an interest of yours to understand that functionality, think about your career path looking in two different ways, because I've seen it on both sides. And Webb is a good example where they have leveraged that knowledge to stay on trend, to stay above the trend, to support that, but also have leveraged people from the industry. Think about how that works in your career path along the way. Not a question, Gina, sorry. Just
oh, no, thank you, Michelle. No, that's perfect. I probably didn't explain that very well, but yeah, no, that's perfect. We do. And I always tell anyone in food service that I meet, if you ever have any questions about something, we're consultants. So that's what we do. We're here to help. And because I meet a lot of K through 12 directors, and they have so much on their plate. And I'm just telling them, if you're like looking at a piece of equipment and you want to know about it, just reach out to me and let me know, because that's what we want to do. We want to help people. And there's so much to learn. There's no way everybody can know everything. So, but I know Ben asked a question about COVID-19. As far as COVID-19, I think it's more contactless, using your phones to order. There's not, I mean, when we had to redesign the NFL project a little bit, and they actually wanted glass all the way up because they were worried about COVID, but we haven't seen too many other facilities really change what they're thinking. More maybe spread out, but it's really hard in a kitchen to be 6 feet away from somebody when you're cooking. I mean, it's very difficult. So a lot has not changed, except I would say the contactless, everything is on your phone or on an iPad or on a kiosk. I know, at Disney, they're doing a lot of that where everything there's not a lot of cash. You're basically doing everything just from a phone or an iPad or something like that.
Gloria, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, so you mentioned that in hospitals, there's a dietary kitchen. And I was wondering if you could just expand on that a little bit more about how working with dietary restrictions might make a facility different.
Yeah, well, so in hospitals and actually on a lot of college campuses too, they have usually a dietitian there working and helping create menus. And so they have different menus for different dietary concerns in a hospital. I would say we see more actually separation actually on a university campus in a kitchen. So some schools have like a halal type of environment or a kosher, like we've been asked to design kosher kitchens before, more on a college campus, so not necessarily on a hospital, but we have done some Jewish home senior living facilities, so then they would have a kosher kitchen there. So it's really just partitioning out some space for that specialty. But they just call it a dietary kitchen because I think they're feeding their patients whatever their dietary needs are. That's just what they call it. But they are going to have special menus for, you know, if you're diabetic or, you know, high blood pressure or whatever, you know, dietary needs you have. With room service in a hospital, you'll get a menu of what you're allowed to eat, and then you get to order what you want from that menu. So it's not like a regular, like a restaurant, but they'll get a special menu that is their doctor has approved as far as what they can eat, and then they select from that, and then that's what gets delivered to them. And usually it's the food service person that's delivering the food, not the nurses. So that's the way they set up that whole food service department. And they do have, so just to kind of answer even some technology questions and innovation, in hospitals, a lot of times they will use like these, they're called tugs, but they're big like robots that deliver the trays up to the floors. And they use them for both food service and even for laundry. So they're usually housed in a big kitchen space to charge, but they just follow along the floor, like there's a magnetic strip on the floor, and they go to the floors and they can deliver the food on the trays. And then it'll be a different cart, obviously, that brings like the laundry down to the laundry room, but they're super expensive. So they share them by the departments, but they do use tugs. The other thing is a lot of college campuses are using, you've probably seen pictures of them, these little robots. They use them on college campuses. They use them at Intuit. They have them where they're delivering food like in a little tiny, I don't know, it's like 3 feet wide. It's a little tiny robot that delivers food to facilities. So that is one thing that has been happening for a little while. So
we're starting to play with that on campus. Foundation Food Services. They're kind of experimenting with that, right?
Yeah. It's kind of fun to see them like go around. So
we have a question in the chat about if you can maybe highlight some of any of your Northern California projects, or if you have future plans.
Yeah, we've actually done a lot of work in Northern California. As Michelle said, you know, we worked up at San Jose State. We've worked, I think, at 20 of the 23 CSU campuses. We worked on almost all of them. We've also done a lot of K through 12 schools up there. We just finished Sacramento Central Kitchens, 40,000 square foot kitchen. We've done Oakland Central Kitchen, which is a 40,000 central kitchen, which actually has a farm on it. So they're teaching the kids how food grows. They're not growing food to serve, but it's really more educational piece. So we've done actually quite a bit. We've done some senior living facilities up there. We've done work in Oregon and Washington, and we've done work a lot of places. We just primarily focus on California because there is a lot of business here, and this is where we are. So it just brings better value to the client. And in California, there's a lot of different agencies in hospitals. We have what's called OSHPD, which is a regulatory agency with like, it's all about how you're serving food. They're also concerned with earthquakes and all that kind of stuff. You have schools, you have DSA, Department of State Architecture, which if a student is in a facility, that it has to be DSA approved, which is also structural and earthquake. And so there's a lot of specialty organizations in California that we have to know about. So it's a little bit harder for other consultants to necessarily work in California, but there's not a lot of us out there. There's a lot of 1- and 2-man like offices, but we're probably like in the top 5 of the food service consultants in the country as far as size and volume and all of that. So, but we've done, we worked on Santa Clara University in Northern California. All this, pretty much all the CSUs and UCs. We worked on Berkeley. Sorry, on the top of my head, but it's a lot. If you, there's actually on our website, there's a project list you can probably see. I don't even know if it's accurate. I know the K-12 one is not, it's not updated. So we're working on Woodland Community College. It's in Yuba County, which is kind of near a Sacramento area. We're doing a culinary arts program for them right now. So a lot. So in 32 years, you can do a lot of business. So, and we primarily started in higher ed. We've really diversified more in the last 12 years into K-12 and corporate dining and hospitals. So we have a lot of higher ed experience.
I'll call on Carrie with his hand raised.
Hey, I was just going to mention, Gina, this goes back to Jim Webb. I think it was one of the last projects I did with Jim, and that is William Jessup University up in Rockland, which really is a timeless facility. I can't believe it's 12 years now, but absolutely stunning, to include a chef's table next to the kitchen right off the servery. And so it's the kind of place that I would take potential corporate clients to visit because it's so well done. So that was a great web program. And certainly you and I have done several since then.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, thank you. And on William Jessup, we actually did the interior design as well. So we can help with interior design as well as just the food service portion. So that was a great project.
Rebecca, hand raised.
So I know that earlier you mentioned you grew up in food service and you transferred from accounting over to the position you're currently in. So how do you think your previous work in those two departments really led to your success in the food service design industry?
It really helps, as Michelle even said, it helps to understand the operation for sure. And you just have the sense of what it's like being in food service, because I was around it most of my life. Accounting, well, we're doing a lot of numbers, and I'm a small business owner. I'm an entrepreneur, so I love it. I think if you're going to go into business, you really need to understand what your financial statement is saying. And you can't ever know too much about business, even if you're running a hotel or if you're running a department, you're going to have a budget, and you really need to understand what your P&L is telling you and how you can be profitable. Where can where are you spending your money? How can you best utilize your employees? I think it's super important in any part of life to understand the accounting piece. I also did a lot of marketing and business development, and we have to do that a lot. Like this presentation that I showed you guys, I pieced a bunch of presentations together, that we've used. And that's how we market to architects. We have to put together nice collateral. So understanding that, you don't have to be able to do it. You don't have to be able to, do InDesign or anything that's creative. But if have a good eye and you know what you want to do, make sure, like we always try to make sure we can get pictures of our projects, which is sometimes difficult, but the more well-rounded you can be, the more successful you're going to be in any type of career that you have. I think you can't go wrong by understanding how business works, how accounting works, how marketing works. Hands-on, I think, is key if we're dealing with design. So we understand that, like what Jim Webb used to say a lot of times to the designers is, make me a hamburger, right? So think about, where's the plate? Where's the lettuce? Where's the hamburger? Where are you storing everything? Are you walking around all over the place just to make a hamburger? Or is it convenient are you efficient? And is it going to make sense? So I think the more well-rounded you can be, the better off you're going to be in anything.
Dean Dobson, and then we'll switch to some questions in the chat.
So a lot of you have asked me, what do our board of advisors do? And they support us on all of our projects, and they're partners with us. And I want to give you an example. So pre-COVID, we had plans to design a culinary design lab and culinary garden out behind the restaurant at Kellogg Ranch. And so we contacted Gina Brinegar and we said, please come help us kind of vision this, help us figure out what this might look like. And so we could get some plans together, at least some preliminary plans, so that we could go out and raise some money. And so we did. We've gone out, we raised $1 million before COVID hit, and we're starting that up again now. And so those are things that are going to directly benefit you as students. We're looking at teaching the HRT 2810 professional food prep labs there, and really work on farm to table and some other exciting things with urban agriculture. So you may be excited about that as an alum. You'll probably be graduated by then, but they help us do all of these things, and they help us envision where we want to go. So I just wanted to say, you know, they're really partners with us, and they help us, and they help you directly. Thanks.
Thank you, Leah.
Dr. DeWald has asked in the chat, will buffets come back?
Sorry, will what come back?
Will buffets come back after COVID?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Right, next question.
Can I expand on that for a minute? I think it's a legitimate question. Will buffets come back as they went away? I think that what we're seeing and what Gina is seeing is that the intent is for buffets to come back in the same way they left us. However, I think the concern is, will we have COVID protocol or long-lasting change in how things are serviced? And you're seeing a mixed bag of it, right? Buffets are back. They can be back now. It's the length of time that the serviceware has to be changed out from an operational point of view. So you see them in design, but from an operational point of view, you're going to see probably protocol in how they're operationally handled. So they're changing out silverware more often, or they're changing, you know, part of it's being served instead of self-serve in some cases. So, but the concept, people were all anxious to get back to it because there's a value proposition that goes with buffets across the industry in many segments.
Yeah, so what we're seeing, and maybe this will answer a couple other questions, is so what we're designing now is basically the sneeze guards are convertible. So right now they're set up so it can't be self-served, it's being served, but it's convertible to where when the facility is ready to go back to self-serve or buffet, they can do it without changing out their equipment. The key is really being flexible with all of our equipment. So because you're spending a lot of money, obviously, as you can see on these projects. So, you know, right now in a buffet, it might not be a buffet. It might just have glass that, you know, moves down, but we can move it up. So then when we want, we can open it back up and the facility has their COVID protocol or the buffet protocol or whatever you want to call it. So that is actually how we're designing them now.
Thank you. I think we will end in our last couple of minutes with a great question from Cody in the chat. Cody writes, with the new developments of kitchen assistants and robotic AI in the hospitality industry, such as the Flippy Burger Bot, do you think that these will be slowly integrated into future projects, or has there already been interest into these technologies from a design and efficiency perspective?
I think right now it's not quite perfected. It's going to have to somehow get better because we have a labor shortage and we're going to continue to have a labor shortage. So we have to figure out how we can use robotics in some way. I mean, there's like a robotic stir, you know, that I think we showed Leah when we were giving them ideas for the new culinary arts kitchen. There's not a lot as far as cooking goes yet, but like I kind of said at the beginning, our industry moves really slow. So they're working on it because there's a labor shortage. We have to solve that problem. So it will definitely be there at some point because otherwise we're not going to be able to operate our facilities. It's just not going to happen.
Well, thank you so much to our speaker and for all of you for coming tonight. We appreciate it. And Gina, if you'd like to hang on, we'll probably end the recording. If people have questions that they didn't want on the recording, we'd love to be able to maybe entertain a few more if you have the time. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it.